Okay, so what we did last week was to set us up for this week. And we looked at those three primary shapes that we want to explore that can emerge when we start moving around without moving our feet. They also emerge, of course, when we move our feet. And I wanted you to look at them individually and just kind of get used to keeping your knees in the right shape. And also kind of just to discover them physically in your body before we do this one. So this set, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of deep relaxation that's down weighted oriented. So we're going to do a down weighted meditation, and then we're going to practice. The whole practice is going to be, we're going to just try and drop all of our weight into this, whichever leg we're going to. And we're going to try and make it feel like we were continuously sinking, even though something does lift. And that is going to be a really important movement quality issue as you go on. And the reason I wanted to look at you, I wanted you to look at those three shapes last week is you're going to find that one of those three shapes emerges for you as we do this lesson. Do whichever feels most natural. Don't necessarily do the exact one I do. Most people are going to find that a slight turnout is the one that feels most natural. Some people are going to feel moving sideways is pretty natural. Some people are going to get a big turnout. A few people might even get, I prefer turning towards. That's a pretty rare one. Again, just quick safety specs. If I'm sinking back and my knee collapses inward like this, I am destroying my structure. I'm harming my health. So as I sink back, knee over toes, and this is the whole reason we did the one last week first, is just to get the feel of this. Simultaneously, if yours is to turn towards, make sure you keep those knees over toes. Always knees over toes. There's a little wiggle, but they should always be pointing over your toes. And most people won't feel this one, but of course, again, the safety on this one is that some people collapse outward with this one. I mean, some people do all sorts of crazy things, so just be mindful of your knee safety. Okay, we're going to take about 2 minutes here, and we're just going to try and do the whole exercise now that we've covered our safety points. So, feel the bottom of your feet and feel gravity sucking you downward. Feel the way gravity sucks at your fingertips. Feel how gravity is plastering your feet to the ground. Try and keep that one as your primary meditation. But don't be exclusive, do be expansive. Let the sensation of gravity should be pulling your shoulders downward. Excuse me. Sensation of gravity sucking at everything, pulling it downward. And right in the middle of all of that downward sensation, there's an answering rising. That is your skeleton. And it is being compressed all around as gravity drives you into the ground. As you feel it sucking down in all directions, all around you, it should subtly start to straighten what's going on in the middle. So an example I'm watching for in my body, a little bit of extra tension in my low back and hips. And it's causing my hips to kick backwards just a little bit to my structure. rather than try to fix it the way we do with certain exercises. In this one, we just let it be. And as I sit here and just let it be, I listen to the way gravity is pressing my hips into my coxal joints. I relax my joints so that it's natural and fluid. I release everything downward. And as I do so, I feel just slightly this, each layer of the onion of tension. As I let go of a layer, the outer layer is the big one, and I see big changes. In each layer that I go inward, though, I see smaller changes, but I can feel those hips gradually relaxing and releasing into a more perfect state, a more aligned, perfect state, such that I begin to feel more and more upright, like oddly tall for the fact that I haven't tried to straighten up at all. So you might have very different tension patterns in your body, but that's just kind of the experience to look for as you're keeping your attention completely, not completely, but you're keeping your attention on the bottom of those feet, and you're just doing what you can to just let go, release and relax. And with each release, each relax, my skeleton gets put into a more perfect place. So mind on the bottom of the feet, but maybe you're releasing something in your shoulders. Mind on the bottom of the feet, and I'm letting that sensation of gravity just push me into the ground. By the way, this is the exact exercise that certain Japanese people, stylists, do under waterfalls, is that water pressing you down forces you to find that center of center spot. So they do various qigongs in there, but don't underestimate the simple value of just gravity right there. And we are standing in the waterfall of gravity right now. See if you can feel that thing plastering you to the earth, sucking your fingers downward, letting your feet get flatter and flatter, nothing being held up at all. Resting downward. Okay, so feeling those feet plastered to the ground, choose whichever side is most cozy. And what you're going to do is just ever so slightly, you're going to drop this hip and bend the knee. And you're going to use that as the beginning of the sensation of pouring yourself downward into one foot. So like a saucer of milk, I'm going to tilt it down into that foot there. And I'm just going to do it at whatever speed it wants to happen. And if I ever feel like lifting up, I'm going to stop my motion. You'll notice this time I didn't quite get my toes up. That's okay. What's more important in this exercise And you'll notice I come up just a little bit as I'm coming back to center. What's most important for this exercise is to try and feel yourself as one liquid, unified being. I'm going to just tilt everything down into this foot. I'm going to try and do it without any tension. I'm going to try and rest downward. And as soon as I feel a sensation of pull, which I wanted to pull up this foot for a moment, let go of performance. That is a performative thing. You don't have to lift your foot. The goal long term is to be able to just sink down there and have that other foot come up. But for this exercise, just listen to what's natural. I'm going to sink and rest down. And my foot comes loose. So yes, there is a little bit of musculature holding that thing up. But by coming up to the center and then dropping into my foot here, I'm giving it some space to do like an isometric hold so that this never lifts. It just holds stuff from falling further. So if I hold, how do I say this well? I hold it as I sink this side, and you can see how that heel comes up supernaturally. Supernaturally. It comes up quite naturally. And then I'm going to listen here for a moment. And I'm going to let go. Come back. My crippled leg just didn't want it quite yet, so that's okay. Just go back and forth, and you're looking for smoothness of motion, rest, and a sense of releasing downward, so that there wasn't really much of a sense of lift. Right there, I got the urge to lift, so setting that urge down, setting it down, and then the movement stays smooth. It should feel really smooth, like watching a really nicely formed waterfall that's just continuous and sort of quiet, smooth. I'm talking about like those really nice, like basic faucet ones, really quiet ones. Smooth water. And of course, it's much easier in my less damaged leg. Dropping down, sinking, resting. Catch yourself if you try and lift. If you feel that urge, at least once feel this. I'm going to lift. Oh, there's this whole thing that gets going. There's a hitch and a like, ugh. So instead, how do I sink everything beneath that contact point? And I almost fell over because I'm missing a hip crest here, but I didn't lift to make it happen. I had a little bit of a hitch from side to side motion there. Resting downward. And I sometimes use my hands to remind myself what my intention should be. So that one was a really nice one on my crippled leg side. And I was just adding my hands and reminding myself to gather that guy's gravity and drop it down. And so if you ever see me doing my hands, you don't have to join me with those. But it helps me, so maybe it'll help you. Feel free to use it. And you might see me do different things. That one I was, when we sink and we want to raise our arms, we don't want to just raise our arms, because then it's like through our whole body. But if you bend your knees as you do that, you're going to find it's super smooth. You don't get that back and forth wobble that happens when you're just raising the arms. It's worth saying, people who do Tai Chi with their weight in their back, they'll use this to drop back into those heels. So don't underestimate that sometimes you won't see people's knees bend very much. But if you watch carefully, they're actually sinking kind of backwards as they drop into those heels. So T.Y. Pang is one such. I don't recommend the heel thing. I'm going to do a whole video on the tendon changing issues at some point. Things that I've run into that have harmed me, I'm going to do that. But for now, I just don't recommend being a heel-weighted Tai Chi person. It damaged my body. Okay, so that's the entire exercise. You want to gradually learn how to do everything with as little effort as possible. So right, we want to have that quality of having dropped into our foot rather than having taken a step. And camera made me think I was missing my knee for a moment there, but my foot's just not aimed at you quite. So I'm dropping this hip, my perineum, down into the kidney 1 point, so that the lowest chakra. From here, I fire downward into the kidney 1 point. And the kidney 1 point is this little hole behind the ball of the foot. And it's an important Qi Kong acupuncture point. But it's also, we're doing a form of, we're doing something that's, sorry, it's a form of Qigong. No, it's not, but it is, but no, it's not. The Chinese terms are complex enough that I don't want to deal with that, but we're trying to align our being in relation to the exact same principles of Qigong, Neigong, all the things. And in a sense, this is arguably a little bit more of a Neigong, but when you learn to have that internal feeling and seeing, and you sort of start to see the light inside of you, and you'll start to see chakras if you spend enough time on these meditation exercises that I'm gradually feeding you. You're taking this Dantian point, that's the center of your physical motion, and you are placing it into that chakra and dropping that lowest chakra down to the kidney 1 point. So you get these energetic connections from these sorts of things. And, oh gosh. Anyway, to the point, you want to have the 3 points connected, and you want to practice connecting those. But when you really are trying to be formless, then you're not trying to shape your body as much. Your body is being shaped. That's why it's important to try and keep your posture together. But in these ones, you're working much more on just everyday natural movement, and you can't spend all day going, okay, getting yourself into an exact shape and then trying to do that. That's just not how life works. You have to be natural. So this movement quality series is trying to help you learn how to spot that connectivity between the two worlds. How do you just move naturally, but also how do you remember and not, oh gosh, I'm biting off a little more than intellectually that I can chew here in a moment. Yeah, so the key point, the key element is that you're trying to learn how to minimize your tension in your movement. And gradually you're going to learn, oh, well, I add this tiny little bit of tension in order to cause something, right? So I I do this tiny little bit of isometric hold here, drop this hip a little. It's a little bit of muscular exertion that happens. And as I drop, so all my stabilizers start being much more active down here. And so there is always the yang and the yin, and we're trying to take away as much of the tension as possible and then show you how to correctly layer those things. So anyway, the video is going a little bit longer than I intended, but the basic exercise is just practice this syncing, and you're going to be wanting to do this all day long in Tai Chi. Release downward. Arguably the most important soft martial arts principle is just release and relax downward. And then, you know, you're here, all I have to do is release and I'll come to 50-50 and then capture that and move forward, just a little bit of muscular exertion, right? And then later on, we're going to talk about even more, slightly more, for certain elements of the second version of the Yang 108 that I try and teach. So, yeah, key point is just practice this drop. Practice being soft. Practice that as your start, and spend a good bit of time with that, because all the way through the form, you're going to combine that deep relax and release with just tiny amounts of tension that create a shape, right? So yeah, play with that this one a lot. I'll try and mark which time stamp to start on so that you can just practice that one as well, since I got a little out of control with my lecture portion there. Yeah, and you're going to be doing that all day long in Tai Chi. So the whole form, you know, you're just resting and releasing, sinking downward. Find some tension in you, release it downward. And then adding just those tiny bits of tension to create a shape, you know, whatever that shape might be. So yeah, I'll add a timestamp.